Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's Headmasters blog. It's Friday, the 25th of June, and I'm going to start unashamedly by talking about sport, football in particular, because I have been enjoying the European Championships that have kicked off over the last couple of weeks and finally ignited into life on Wednesday evening when, in the so-called group of death, Portugal, Germany and France were all playing for their futures in the competition, and it was one of those great moments where, as the scoreline trickled in through news in different stadiums, the crowd were telling the players on the pitch exactly what they needed to do in order to secure their team's progress in the competition. And of course, the net result is that England are playing against Germany in the last 16 next Tuesday evening, which of course brings back all sorts of nostalgia for Euro 96, and for those of us of a certain age, Italia 90, and of course 1966, well before that. Of course, it really does whet the appetite. I think any kind of fixture between England and Germany on a football field is always going to be full of incident, and this time I can only hope that the players are mentally strong and put to bed all of those dim and distant memories of losses to the Germans in the past, because this team is supremely talented, and I really hope that they can put those memories to bed and progress in the competition. But I think we all know it's headed inevitably towards a penalty shootout, but we shall wait and see. Meanwhile, back at Kingswood House, on Monday, the lower prep boys enjoyed a trip to Goring Beach, and I must say they were very stoic because it was rainy and pretty chilly, but the staff and boys wrapped themselves up and had a phenomenal time. So well done, boys. I commend you on your fortitude for that. On Wednesday, Miss Matieska and Mr. Sikdeo took a group of creative and art students up to Banksy's exhibition up in London as part of our Gifted, Talented and Interested enrichment, and they had a fantastic time. There's some pictures in the newsletter that you can see from their trip. Thank you for organising that. On Wednesday morning, Miss Patel and 7P wrote and produced their own assembly with a game show theme, and I have to say it was very funny, and judging from Mr. Clark's humour in the morning, it will live long in the memory. And definitely there were not only some excellent script writing, but also really good stage presence from that form. So thank you, boys, you did a great job there. Year sixes, well done to you, because I know you've been working really hard on your exams this week. They're now all done, and in fact all of the assessments and exams are now done for this term. So your teachers are extremely busy, not just marking and feeding back, but also preparing your end of term grade cards and indeed your reports, which you can look forward to in the last week of term. And I'm sure, on the evidence that I've heard, the vast majority will be very glowing, and even those that are not glowing will still be positive in tone and offer certain guidance and reassurance for moving forward. Speaking of which, thank you very much to Mr. Clark and to the Kingswood House Association, who are working hard on our revised plan for Jollies, and this will take place 100% now on the last morning of term. I can tell you that there is going to be a Euro theme for Mufti, and we are hoping to have all sorts of stalls and indeed a few little extras courtesy of the Kingswood House Association to make it a really fantastic send-off for the last day of term. So that really is something to look forward to. In the meantime, again, we are interviewing currently for positions of responsibility for next year. I spent a great day yesterday interviewing Year 10 students for positions of responsibility in September, and it's going to be difficult to choose, and that is a really lovely position to be in. And I just emphasise once again, thank you to all of you who are bold enough to apply for the post, and if you don't put yourself out there, you will never know. And of course, it is practice for the real world. This is what happens and how it works. And Year 8, I'm looking forward to getting stuck into you guys next week with Mr. Clark. Equally, we are beginning to choose prize winners, and I labour the point again that we do want there to be a little something for everybody at the end of a very difficult year, but some of the prizes we can only award to one individual. It doesn't mean we think any less of you but we do celebrate each other's success and are pleased for them. So it is going to be a prize giving where we do celebrate everybody's success individually, collectively, and come together as a school community and thank each other for all that we have done, pupils, parents and staff, at the end of a particularly gruelling but very successful year. On Thursday last night, I'd like to thank Judge Georgina Kent, one of our KHS governors, who presented a senior lecture to boys and staff. She talked really animatedly about what life is like working as a judge in Kingston Crown Court. And I thought some of the hypothetical sentencing games were fantastic, and I must say I got them all wrong. So perhaps it's good for everybody that I've avoided that particular profession. But I thought what was really interesting as well was how Georgina talked with such enthusiasm about how, as a female, she broke that conventional glass ceiling in a still quite male-dominated profession, and that bodes very, very well for all of our girls who are joining into Kingston House in September and beyond. Really fascinating insight there. Thank you so much for giving up your time, Georgina. Right, this week's Medicines and Dispatches. Well done to James Wang for your work in exams recently from Mrs. Lambert, to Maya and James again for great work in music, Zach Bland and William Nelson Bowling for their handwriting. They had to copy a poem out, and they showed me that actually and read it to me, and it was great for me to give them a sticker. They were fabulous. Thank you, Mrs. Marskell. Toby Hazelden and Gregory Chung, well done for your work for choir this term, and Hugh Hunter talking really animatedly with Miss Foster, and I think she's talking here about an anecdote about whether you felt you needed to be a certain height to play the double bass. And she's very much looking forward to hearing you play the ukulele. Well done, Hugh, again for all of your work in French. Gregory Chung also gets a nomination from Madame Swift there for his work with French vocab. Hugo Hawkes, he's been working hard about living things and habitats in science, says Miss Smith. And in general, Madame Swift would like to commend 4S, who she describes as a delight to teach, and you brighten up her Wednesday afternoons. Mrs. Lambert would like to echo what I said earlier about well done to all of the boys in lower prep for their excellent behaviour out on the trip to Goring Beach. It was commented on by people walking past, which is always lovely to hear. Well done in upper prep 5F to Harry Wallace, Eddie Bishop and Max Kenner for their English work from Miss Forbes, to Benji Adams for playing well in Colts B, and Harry Boundy for stepping up and being a great captain for Colts D, says Mr. Hendry. Bertie Lewis is showing greater perseverance at the moment, doing basketball percussion, says Miss Foster. Well done, Bertie. Nathaniel John is virtually a classroom assistant for Mrs. Seaver by the sound of it. He's keeping her stocked with soap, towels, tissues, and every morning he comes in and does a little check to make sure that there's everything there for the day ahead. He brings the prep register back to the office and offers to help his classmates. She is not sure how she's going to manage without you next year, Nathaniel. Well, Mrs. Seaver, I have a funny feeling you might train someone up. Well done to Kai for making a superhuman effort not to get stressed when he doesn't understand his work. And of course it's difficult because Kai's come in, he's not necessarily English as his first language, but he's really coming on in leaps and bounds. And we know that is true because Kai is even laughing at some of Mrs. Seaver's dreadful jokes. So Kai, well done to you. Sam Ferreira-Lay, Frankie Lart and Max Canner, great work with your basketball percussion in music. And Aaron, congratulations to you for your distinction in grade 3 piano. That is a fabulous achievement. Do come and see me for a badge, please. Fraser Blythe, love to hear this. A boy had fallen over and hurt himself, and Fraser was there to help him out. So thank you to Miss Forbes for that nomination. Well done, Fraser. Jackson Worth, a notable performance, playing well, filling in the last minute for Colts B, says Mr. Hendry. Hussein Khan has been showing a great improvement in his attitude in music, not just concentrating, but also doing really well in his guitar lessons. Well done to Dylan Newman, who has a commendation for his work explaining the past tense in French. And Lauti Yasnikowski, nominated for showing great emotional regulation in relation to his assessments this week. He tried really hard to keep on top of his emotions, and that was observed by Mrs. Lindley. Well done, Josh Draper and Kieran Schmidt, for great work in class discussions for Madame Swift. And Freddie Taylor, good to hear that you're being an excellent role model in sports, from Mr. Hendry. And Mr. Clark would like to add in a well done to all of 6L and 6S for their maturity during the assessment week. Jasper Wong is showing great maturity in his learning from Mr. Barrett. Josh McCrossan, took it upon himself when he thought he was becoming distracted. He took the initiative and asked to move seats so he could focus and work to the best of his ability. So well done, Josh. And Josh Isles has taken part in the citizenship programme and made a recycled robot even bigger than himself in real life, Miss Black thinks. So I'd love to see a picture of that, please, Josh. And Luca Staples-Sheesby, well done to you. You've been getting actively involved in form time discussions and showing real endeavour and appetite to do so. Keep it up, Luca. Well done, Michael Sargis, for being super helpful around the classroom. Enzo Rees, some great contributions in PSHE. Noah Seeger doing a great job as the student council representative, says Miss Patel. Mr. Clark would like to say thank you to all of the Year 7s who have applied so far to be a prefect next year. He would like to see a few more, but particularly Theo, Noah, Bo, Max and Ethan have been very organised in that respect, so well done, boys. Well done to all of ATEL for their assembly last week, says Mr. Lordy. He's very proud of you. Max Horsting in 8T, Lucas Cressy, Sam McCaskill for making some very thought-provoking contributions in PSHE, says Madame Taylor. Ben Hubber has been proactive in writing his speech for prize giving. Well done, Ben. I look forward to seeing that. And Stuart Coleman and Ben Choi, both of whom have been awarded sports scholarships to their next schools, played their last competitive fixtures for KHS this week. They've been outstanding sportsmen. Well done, boys. And Patrick Gray and Max Horsting for huge focus in their lessons from Mr. Barrett. And a big well done to the many boys who took part in the Year 7 and Year 8 Maths Challenge, the results of which were reported in last week's newsletter. They were some excellent placings from our boys, and that reflects very, very well upon their level of attainment and indeed the teaching and learning in the maths department. So well done, all of you. Into the seniors, Ishmael Mohammed and Barnaby Hill have been picked up by Mr. Hendry for being excellent this week in all of their lessons. Ted Hartley for showing a good understanding and an excellent work rate for Mr. Barrett. Barnaby Hill is taking on board advice to help him with exam technique when completing his prep, says Miss Black. And Jack Bunya Ames showing a really good positive attitude in science as well from Miss Black. Tommy Collins, well done for your determination and resilience in reading and Inspector Calls, one of my favourite plays. And Pete Duncan as well for balancing humour and maturity in PSHE discussions from Mr. Twinley. Follow Iene, well done for your excellent result in your grade 3 piano. You can be very proud of yourself, says Miss Foster. Harvey Weems and Marcus Glenn have shown a good understanding and exceeded Mr. Barrett's expectations this week. Well done, boys. Cameron Allenby has been very grown up. He had to self-isolate, but has been taking on independent responsibility for keeping up to date with his work, says Mrs. Hornstetter. Well done to Owain Fisher and Eddie Fisher for their work on the documentaries on the context of an Inspector Calls, and Sam Squire for his excellent video editing, says Mr. Twinley. Into Year 10, Rory Gibbs and Josh Luneman have been a little more punctual this week, says Mrs. Weston. Max Mitchell-Nesbitt has a couple of nominations here. Firstly, for being very kind from Miss Foster, and secondly, for him really listening to feedback in science, and it is making a difference to his written work. And Jack Bettman, super conscientious, making sure he has a full set of revision notes to support him in his exams when they return in the autumn, says Miss Black. And Miss Wilson, Mrs. Ibbotson and Mrs. Lucas would like to say thank you and well done to all of the boys who have attended Study Centre this term and even this year. They've coped tremendously well with everything that's been thrown at them, including timetable changes, exams and online tutoring. And they are very, very grateful to you for listening and being in the right place at the right time. So well done, boys, from the Study Centre. That is very, very good to hear. So that wraps up another busy week here at Kingswood House. We have just over 2 weeks to go before the end of term and an awful lot of fun and festivities to look forward to before that time. Starting on Monday with our inaugural Girls' Tea and Talk event. We were hoping to host the girls in person. Evidently that is now not possible, but we are instead hosting something really fun online after school for the girls and their families. So we're looking forward to that, and I shall keep you posted as to how that went this time next week. In the meantime, have a fantastic weekend.